morning, everyone. I hope and pray that you are fine wherever you are. I am okay, and I thank God for that. Now, today I want to talk about something which is in the common domain. I want to talk about democracy, and specifically, I want to establish the fact that democracy is the main reason why we have instability in Africa, and democracy is the primary reason why corruption will never end in Africa. When I was in primary school and when I was in high school and when I was in university, I was taught about social studies, then history, then history in the 3 levels. And when we were discussing issues in these subjects, democracy was often defined as a government of the people, for the people, by the people. That is, giving citizens, giving civilians the mandate to govern themselves, giving the citizens the mandate to establish their own governments. And in most countries across Africa, the form of democracy which is applied is representative democracy. That is, the civilians, the people, delegate their duties to representatives. They choose leaders. They participate in elections to choose leaders to represent them. And over the years, we have been told, and mark my words, we have been told that democracy is the perfect government. You remember the United States has been going around the world, invading countries, waging wars in the name of promoting democracy. In my country, Kenya, democracy is founded on the Constitution. The Constitution recognizes that we have 3 branches of government, that is, the legislature, executive, and the judiciary. Legislature comprises the legislative houses that makes laws. Executive comprises the president, the deputy president, and the ministers, and other state organs. The judiciary mainly comprises the courts. One of the reasons why I believe that democracy is an evil, we are being told that the 3 branches of governments are separated, independent, sovereign, operating on their own, making decisions on their own. But in real sense, if you will agree with me, and if you assess the functions of democratic governments across the world, in Africa, in the United States, Europe, and any other part of the world, you will find that in most cases, and maybe in all cases, decisions that the legislature makes, decisions that the judiciary makes, comes from the executive. The executive always has overriding roles over the judiciary and the legislature. For example, in my country, Kenya, recently the legislature passed the Finance Bill 2023, which was later signed into law by the Kenyan President William Samoei Ruto. This Finance Act was brought to Parliament for first reading, second reading, third reading, committee stage, and then committee of the whole house, before it was presented for presidential assent. And during all these processes, the ruling party insisted that they were taking direct instructions from the president. They were taking direct instructions from the deputy president, and they were taking direct instructions from the party leadership. And remember, the party leadership are members of the executive. What I'm trying to say is that the legislature makes laws, supports laws, amends laws based on the decisions, on the directives of the executive. Now, if democracy spells the condition that the legislature is independent, the executive independent, why is the same democracy allowing the executive to have control over the legislature? In that way, I believe that democracy is a lie. Democracy is a fallacy. Democracy is evil in itself. I have also seen on many occasions where the courts at all levels make decisions according to the directives of the executive. The courts in most cases will make decisions that favor the government. And in some African countries, the government and government officials use the courts to suppress opposition. They use the courts to fight enemies. Is this the democracy that we are being told? Is this the democracy that we are being told is the perfect form of government? The democracy, the form of democracy I see in Africa is a democracy that allows the government, that allows the executive controlling roles, overriding roles over the two other branches of government. I must also insist, and I must persistently say, that in Africa, democracy has been the root cause of all corruption. Democracy has nurtured corruption. Democracy has provided a perfect thriving ground for corrupt leaders and corruption. I will give a very simple example. I will use an example of a politician. And the perfect platform to derive my example is my country, Kenya. In my country, Kenya, the judicial process is as follows. A government official is found to be corrupt, alleged, let me say so, alleged to be corrupt. The same government official is summoned by the investigative bodies. The investigation finds that this government official is liable, is indeed corrupt, and indeed participated in corruption. This government official is sent to the courts. You know, the courts are the platforms where an individual is determined whether he is guilty or not guilty. This individual is sent to the courts. In the courts, the individual has powers and has the right to, let me call it a bond or bail, to apply for a bond or bail. This corrupt individual is given a bail. Let me say he stole 50 million, is given a bail of 1 million, and this same individual, after acquiring a bail or after acquiring a bond, will be walking freely, mingling with the citizens, mingling with the government officials, and still undertaking his duties as a government official. This is the same democracy that we are being told is perfect. A democracy that allows a corrupt individual to walk freely among citizens. A democracy that allows a corrupt individual to sabotage the judicial process. Is this the democracy that we are being told is perfect? Sometimes I always make very erroneous statements concerning our judicial processes. I always say, in Migai's court of law, I always say that if an individual is found to have murdered another, there is no need of giving this individual bond. There is no need of giving this individual bail, and there is no need of allowing this individual to walk freely among civilians. The best and the perfect punishment for this individual is jail. No bail, no bond. That is the perfect democracy that I front for. Not a democracy that allows corrupt individuals to walk freely. Not a democracy that allows murderers to walk freely. I prefer a democracy that is perfect, and I prefer a democracy that protects the rights and freedoms of citizens. If this democracy that we are being told is perfect, then the same democracy must severely punish corrupt leaders, not giving them bonds, not giving them bails. If this democracy needs to be perfect, if the democracy we are being told is perfect, then this democracy must clearly state the limitations, the restrictions on the roles of the executive, on the roles of the legislature, and on the roles of the judiciary. Not a democracy that gives the executive powers to control the legislature. Not a democracy that gives the executive powers to control the judiciary. Democracy is not perfect. And if these conditions are met, then I would say that democracy is perfect.